marching band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the speed metal kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And now, let's turn down the house and light up the stage with the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
It's Sunday night once again, and that means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. We've got a special episode heading your way. We're going to be doing a Q&A episode this evening. A little bit different, but kind of special during the holiday season. Let's get into all those different things and discuss the Auburn Experience right now. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn Experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, time, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn Experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it, though, is if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to be doing this evening in a very special episode of the Auburn Experience podcast. We do this every single Sunday night for those of you that are brand new to us here on Sunday night, covering Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. So a little bit different this evening. We normally have a whole spiel we go through. We have my normal co-host next to me. You'll know, if you don't know me, my name is Kyle. As you can see, I'm a little bit out of sorts this evening too, with having everything lined up just perfectly, things like that. It is the holidays, and or we're wrapping them up slowly here. But also it is that time of year when people get together and everything gets passed around. And that's right. That Austin Scott tonight, my regular co-host for the Auburn Experience podcast, is not able to join us. He is very much under the weather. He is fine. He's okay. Just the typical stuff that tends to get around. And you can imagine with 2 twin boys, that probably amplifies his chances for running into some interesting, and I do mean interesting, things from time to time, not to blame them or anything like that. But we'll miss him this evening. And because we are not together and because it's the holidays, we didn't really want to rush to get a special guest or anything or that to join us for an episode. So we're going to do what we have done previously for shows like this, where something's fallen apart, one of us is ill, family issues arise. We just jump on here and utilize our regularly scheduled program to do just a special episode of the Auburn Experience, where we take comments, questions, topics that you might want to address this evening. And if there's any interest, I don't know that there will be tonight because it is a little bit late notice. We could open up the phone lines if anybody wanted that tonight. We'll see what the interest is and potentially do that. That is just something that we're thinking about here on the fly this evening. But this is another opportunity, almost like an Auburn family night, where you come in on Wednesdays, most Wednesdays, not this Wednesday, remember, it's New Year's Eve after all, and you hang out with us and we take your comments, your questions, your topics, and your calls. So kind of in the same vein as that, and it's pretty appropriate since you won't have it this week that we're going to be doing that this evening. So what we want from you this evening is to start the show off on a good note. We would love for you to hit that the like button, the follow button if you haven't, the subscribe button if you haven't, but also the share button on whichever particular format that you are consuming this, finding this show. We'd love for you to help others find the show and be a part of it, because as we continue to grow our little Auburn family, our best little family within the Auburn family, it'll only get better as you help us do that. And don't be shy in the chat. We'd love to hear from you this evening and jump into what you want to discuss primarily. Now, I can talk all day and all evening and all night about Auburn topics. And we will certainly do that from my perspective until we get some feedback from you all on what you would like to dive into this evening. So don't be shy. You can do that throughout the stream this evening, and we'll go off of some of the commentary that you're dropping in there. So the likes, the shares, the comments, that's what we're looking for from you this evening. For those of you that are watching the live portion, for those of you that are watching the replays or listening to the replays, however you get the content, we appreciate you're there too. And you can do those things, but we're giving those instructions out right now for those people that are particularly watching us live. So no really prepared remarks. And frankly, wow, what a great start to the show, right? Frankly, it's probably one of those weeks where it's appropriate for us to not really have a prepared show or anything like that. Austin and I, if we had gotten together, would have been most likely talking about some Auburn Christmas gift type of situations here. I certainly have received a few items. I'm looking at one. I've already worn one of my Auburn Christmas gifts previously that I got super early because of family dynamics. And then I've always said this every year. Some of the gifts that I count as Auburn gifts are for you guys for equipment and stuff. So some things in the studio will be potentially changing a little bit given time and settling in from the holidays. So that's probably coming up on the next episode. That's probably what we planned to discuss here. But there's plenty of other news that's been rolling around throughout the holiday season, whether it is about Auburn football or now basketball, as it takes the primary slot of people's focus right now in terms of the active sports, men's and women's basketball. But there's also non-sports topics that we can dive into, such as the Auburn gift, the culture things, the family things. So it really isn't a big shtick tonight about what we can or can't get into. So we can kind of drive the conversation where you all mainly want to go this evening. I think Austin and I would have started the show off this way by talking about something I mentioned on the previous episode. I meant to send a clip out earlier in the week about it. The whole transfer portal drama stuff that's been going on. And I don't need to rehash myself fully after I did that. If you were there for that show, you watched me have a little bit of a rant about that. But, folks, the overblown and overreacting to the transfer portal these days is just kind of worn thin on me. This is just the era of football that we are in. If you like it, great. If you don't, great. It is what it is. We've kind of made all our points, whether we like it or not. I think the majority probably don't like it, but the portal giveth, the portal taketh away. A really cool thing today that dropped in. And I haven't got his name completely down, but we picked up a Michigan wide receiver in the 2026 class. And how is that? You ask? Well, he technically isn't a Michigan wide receiver because he was part of their class. But what happens when you are able, not able, I guess you're able to, once there is some turmoil and a head coach is fired at a particular university, you are given a window, specifically in this, to enter the portal and make a decision to leave, or you usually have a case to be released from your national letter of intent that you signed and any agreements that you signed. I'm sure that includes a little bit of NIL. So NLI and NIL. So brand new wide receiver for the 2026 class coming over, certainly with some of the probable departures, at least from announcement wise, for Auburn football in the portal at the wide receiver position. Malcolm Simmons, Perry Thompson. I'm sure I'm leaving out a few. Those all of those names leaving certainly open up opportunities for others. There's your 2026 commit. So you obviously have something there in that realm to be excited about. It's honestly been one of those things where I know most people are obsessing about what's Cam Coleman going to do, what's Deuce Knight going to do, what's this player, X player, Y player, Z player going to do. I'm not someone that really focuses on that too much, to be honest with you. But certainly when those decisions are made, we can talk about them. To me, you can only speculate about it so much at this point. Got a couple of questions rolling in here from Facebook. Jonathan, could you clarify for us? It says, who is Alex Galesh's coaching staff? I guess, are you asking who the coaching staff is? We can certainly run through that for you if you're interested, but we did do all of that episode 154. Yes. So if 155 was the last one, tonight won't be a numbered episode. It's just a Q&A one. But 154, we went through the coaching staff and talked about them in great detail. The only thing that we were missing from the last episode was that episode was the tight end hire, which was like announced the day after that, which is frustrating. We did that episode. So we can certainly talk through that for you in a short order, but we went into some great detail about offensive, defensive, special teams as well. We talked about the special teams coordinator. The coaching staff is a brand new era. Obviously, there are at least some returning from the previous staff. DJ Durkin, Vontrell King Williams, some returning players, of course, in Cody Burns, which makes my Cody Burns loving heart oh so happy. Very, very excited about that, to be honest with you. And if you've been watching any of our content from some time, or if you know me personally, you know how excited I was about that. So that's just a very brief overview of all of that, but we can certainly go into more detail if that is what you were looking for, Jonathan, or if there's something specifically what you were wanting to know about there. CJ on Facebook says, I'm guessing this, I don't know if this is a good thing. So I struggle with whether or not I should be bringing this comment up, because I don't know if the comparison that I think is directed at me is a good thing or not. I hope it is. If it's not, then hey, have at it, I guess. But here's an interesting thing. This isn't Auburn related. We do TikTok streams. I get told a lot that I look like Baker Mayfield. I don't know how I feel about that. It is what it is. So I think you can tell probably from my personality, and hopefully it comes across in our content, some of my, how do I say this properly and kindly? Doesn't matter. I'm different. I hope it comes across in the way that it can in the good way. All right. But you can keep your comments and questions coming. Certainly we would like to dive into some more details about what you would like to talk about. But as you do drop those comments and questions, and please do give us a little bit more detail about what exactly you're looking for. And as always, punctuation is key too. That helps us know if that's a question, comment, all that kind of stuff here. Okay, this is from Jonathan. Here we go. Yes, would you go into more details, please, about the staff that will be under Coach Alex? Absolutely. But Jonathan, let me once again push you to episode 154 of the Auburn Experience podcast. You can find it here on the YouTube channel, or you're on Facebook. So look up the Auburn Experience podcast, and you can find that episode listed in there. It would be a great in-depth thing for you. I mean, we went 15 minutes on the offensive staff, almost about as much on the defense, a whole 3 to 5 minutes on the special teams coordinator, all that kind of stuff. There we go. There's your opportunities. All right. I'm bouncing around to a bunch of different topics. We're going to come back to Jonathan here. You were comparing the wide receiver to Ricky Purcell. Got it. I didn't know what was going on there, CJ. Sometimes I have to be a little bit leery of the comments, but there you go. If you want to talk about the new commit from the Michigan commit class coming into Auburn, CJ says, a comparison for you there to think about. If you are comparing me to a wide receiver, I did play the wide receiver position in high school, was not very good at it, but I would guess that'd be a good thing. All right, let's dive into this topic here. Jonathan wants us to do this a little bit, but once again, episode 154, I believe, is the episode you want to go check out for the full detail on that. I'm going to pull all of that up for you here right now on this Q&A show, just so that we can dive into it. I don't mispronounce anybody's name. So obviously, you're led by head coach Alex Galesh, who is a young up-and-comer. People know the name Cody Burns, associate head coach, co-offensive coordinator, and he will coach the wide receivers. There's a lot of speculation on what he might do, but that was one of the hires that was announced immediately, pretty much. I think there's certain things that you need to do as a head coach when you're coming in. How can I appropriately, within my system and with my circle of people that I know, trust, whether it's at my previous place or not, bring in to build goodwill towards the group that I'm taking over? If you're able to do that, I think that is a small way to build some foundation of what you're coming into. It's more about emotions and feelings at that point. But Cody's a guy that's been around for a while, and has been earning his way up the coaching rankings. So happy to have him back, even with, I mean, so many titles for him this time. And I would say deserved too, frankly. And I know I'm a little bit biased in that category. DJ Durkin, we knew that one already. Defensive coordinator. He'll be coaching the linebackers as he was previously. Your offensive coordinator, alongside, I guess, technically Cody, but the primary listed one here, and quarterbacks coach Joel Gordon. So that will be your OC. The next question that I get usually there is who's calling the plays? Don't know yet. They just got assembled about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, roughly. So it could be, it could change in between now and then. So maybe go back and look at a little bit of their tape, and you might get a little bit of information on that. Special teams coordinator is Jacob Branowski. I think is how you pronounce that. Pittsburgh, I believe, is where he last came from. Run game coordinator and offensive line coach Tyler Hudenick. A young guy in this offensive line coaching space, which is going to be interesting to see. I think certainly for me, that is the more intriguing position to watch in terms of success and failure, because I think we all can agree, if you're operating within, facts and context, that Auburn's biggest struggle that it has had the most consistently throughout the last, not just since Gus Malzahn was fired, but even a little bit at the end there with him, was the lack of consistent play from the offensive line. We've changed head coaches. We've changed offensive coordinators. We've changed offensive linemen. We've gone out and gotten every highly coveted transfer portal offensive lineman you could get. We've gotten high school guys and built them up, and it still has not built up to a consistent performance. So something to think about. That's probably your position coach that you hopefully don't get talked about a lot, but it's the one that could be the biggest thing that makes the biggest difference. Tim Bakes is being brought in as a co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach, former defensive coordinator at Tennessee. That one had a little bit of consternation behind it, but I think that's a little bit overblown. He's moving more into just focusing on his safeties at this current time. Coleman Hutzler, assistant coach for the Bucks and Edges position. Vontrell King-Williams, who is now defensive line coach, not just interior, not just defensive tackles. He is your defensive line coach. Larry Porter, running backs coach. Larry Scott, tight ends coach, which was the last hire into this. DeMarcus Van Dyke is probably the hire that a lot of people are talking about the most. I compare it a lot to Marcus Davis when he was brought in by Hugh Freeze. There's a lot of discussions about where this guy's heading in his career, cornerbacks coach. And then you also have Brad Wilson, who was brought in pretty early in this process and will be outside linebackers coach. So that is your 2026. And I say 2026 because things change. Coaching staff, we'll see how they do, who sticks around. Hopefully we can maintain a lot of continuity for this program for a long, long time. The reality is there will be some attrition, either for good things or bad things, probably in the year, but get to know them now. He brought in a good smattering of people from USF. He was previously at UCF. Yeah. USF is where a lot of these guys come from. But there are people from Tennessee. There are people from Pittsburgh. There's a lot of experience in this coaching staff, which I think is something that's not talked about enough there. So anyway, there's your answer, your question. Jonathan, is a great one to start the show. Again, I would refer you back to episode 154 once again to get the full details on that. And we also have clips on YouTube of those segments if you'd like to go watch those ones. Those are available for you now. Terry's got something going on here. These two have come from Michigan. They are listed as committed, quote unquote. If they are out of high school, why haven't they signed? So Terry, I think you missed our explanation, and he is referring to the wide receiver commit and the offensive line commit, interior offensive line, Bear McWhorter. Both the guys are from Georgia, I believe, too. So it makes a lot of sense they would choose to come to Auburn as a, I guess, secondary choice because they chose Michigan first. When a head coach is dismissed, fired, whatever, usually these, I'm dumbing down the explanation of the rules here, so somebody's going to, destroy me for not giving you the full details here. But essentially, they give an opportunity to go look elsewhere and make a decision that's for the transfer portal, for current roster people, but those that just signed national letters of intent. they are given an opportunity to go look elsewhere, and that's what they have here. Now, you're talking about, it looks like they're listed as committed out of high school. Why aren't they signed out? This may be referring to Auburn. Bear McWhorter, last I checked, he was officially announced as signed by Auburn. The wide receiver who just committed today has not signed as far as I'm known yet. If you're looking at websites and things like that, sometimes those things don't get updated as quickly as possible, or as sometimes as quick as they could be. So don't panic. Let it play out. Make sure you're always as much as I think there's some great reporting that comes out of some of these other sites. The only source that you can truly trust is the Auburn football website, their social media accounts. They will tell you the official news. And that's the only news that truly matters, is because it's coming straight from the source. So always go check that out if you're interested. I hope that answers your question, Terry. If it didn't, please do let me know, and we can try to dive into it in a little bit more detail as you may need to that. Let me tackle this a little bit. Hummer, I don't think you're going to like my response to you, but unfortunately for you, this is what you get here. We're kind of real. It looks like you have no problem with being quote unquote real with people. So I think you can appreciate me being real with you. He says, Malcolm said he never stepped foot in Auburn again. How ungrateful. So I don't know what Malcolm has and hasn't said. I have not watched. Yeah, I'm assuming this comes from something that you probably saw that he said, or you saw him or heard him say on Facebook Lives, whatever it is these days that the kids are using. I don't know what hasn't been said, so I'm not going to dog someone publicly as you've chosen to do here. Look, Malcolm, if that's what he chooses to do, that is on him. That's on him. But I don't really have any reason right now to think that way. One of the things that I said I was going to bring up here, and I think fans need to keep in mind is, and I don't know if Hummer is this way or not, but there are plenty that act this way. They want to act like there's no loyalty from these players to teams anymore, but fans are the first ones to dog these players publicly. That doesn't sound very loyal to me. And you can make the point and say, well, we're allowed to give criticism. Well, yeah, but don't act like they're being disloyal when every chance you get, you're dogging these players. But anyway, back to your point here. It seems like we're reacting to something here that may have been said by Malcolm Simmons. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't spend any time following these guys and the little silly things that they do online. Some of the more substantive stuff they do, things to like support things or support each other. I think those things. But what I've found is there's a epidemic of fans spending way too much time assessing over the social media accounts of these players sometimes. And that's just my opinion. You don't have to hold that same opinion. It's just the way that I feel about it. Jonathan says, does anyone know what is Hugh Freeze doing now? And is he okay in his health? Jonathan, great question. And I appreciate you asking it. From what I know of the situation, very little, that he's doing fine, that he's probably now able to get the treatment that he was putting off during the season for his prostate cancer. Now, the report, straight from Hugh Freeze's mouth, that he'd gotten a diagnosis of prostate cancer, and after going through the offseason of whatever they needed to do to monitor and manage that, he and his doctors made the decision that he was okay to go ahead and finish out the season. Obviously, wasn't the full season. And at the end, do some type of procedures or things like that would be a little bit more involved. Let's put it that way. And it would probably require some time away. And that he would do those. Well, he was unfortunately fired. I mean, unfortunately for him, fired. And he now has the time to do that. So I'm not a personal friend of Hugh Freeze, the Freeze family, anything like that. I haven't heard anything negative, but I think that in terms of his health, he's doing okay. I can imagine he's a lot less stressed these days, and I can bet that is, probably a good thing for his health. But certainly, if you are a believer in the power of prayer, as I am, that should be your prayer for him. Whether you liked him as the head coach or not, or happy about what he did or not, especially if you're a believer, you should be praying for him and hoping that God will give him a clean bill of health through most likely the skill of his doctors and everything there. So that continues to be our prayer. And what is he doing now? He's been, from what I've seen, just going on different podcasts and things like that, talking about his end at Auburn. There was one, I believe, with Justin Hokanson of On3 that a lot of people made a lot of light about and tried to say that he was saying certain things and he wasn't. They were just taking clips, and certain news sites even wrote those clips out of context to get those types of reactions. This is why you should never just react to quotes and things like that. You should go straight to the source of where it came from and then watch everything in full. It's like when people, as a Christian, I can say this, people quote from the Bible and will quote one verse, but don't talk about the before and the after as well. And sometimes that adds a little bit extra context. So there's importance in doing your due diligence as a fan before you react sometimes. And that's really all I've known that he's been doing at this current time. Maybe there's some things that I'm not aware of. I would imagine once his health is under control, or whatever that means and looks like for him, he would probably want to go back to coaching. And I hope he does, because I think he's still got a lot to give in terms of what coaches do on the field, but also molding young men. And so I hope that for him. Great question, Jonathan. This is from Terry again. I think this is going back to our commentary about the committed angle of these Michigan players right now. He says, thank you. I was wondering if the coach being fired and they had signed, did they have to enter the portal? Thanks for your explanation. That's my layman's term explanation. They, in my understanding, they do not enter the portal because they have yet to actually be physically on the team. And I would bet that there's some stipulations where even if they were able to practice early with a team, I think there's some cases of that have happened even now, being part of a 2026 class and early enroll reader and just practicing with a team as part of their bowl or playoff practices just to get the feel for it. I would imagine there's stipulations for them to step away and do things and explore other options. So hopefully it sounds like that was helpful, and I hope that I explained that properly for all of the sticklers out there about the transfer portal. So I'll do my best. Jonathan says, I truly do love the team like my actual brothers, and I care about the guys' feelings. I appreciate your sentiments on that, and I think that if we all approach it that way, we throw around this Auburn family thing, and I do as well, and I mean it when I say it. And family doesn't mean that everything's hunky-dory and perfect and that we love each other to the fullest every bit of the time. Well, like each other should be the way every bit of the time. But, families, for the most part, those that are healthy or that seem healthy, tend to have a little more positive than negative. And certainly being part of the Auburn family and an Auburn fan can be a bit of a roller coaster ride. But that's why we're here at E2C Network. We preach about the Auburn experience. Sports, culture, family, sports always comes first, and football within that always comes first and always will. We recognize that, but there's so much more to it. There's the culture, there's the family, all of that aspect of it. And I think when you dive into it as we do here, it makes it more well-rounded. It makes it more palatable during the difficult times for some of the more prominent things in the Auburn experience. And you develop, ways to deal with this right then. You actually genuinely like the people that choose to be part of your team, your school, whatever. And, you're a little bit more maybe understanding when they don't meet your expectations sometimes. So thank you for that comment, Jonathan. We're about 30 minutes in, and certainly we can wrap whenever we need to. We usually do this for about an hour, but if you guys are good on questions and comments, we can wind down. We need to. So drop some more in if you haven't done so already. We would love to talk about anything that we haven't discussed yet with you all. I'll do a couple reminders for you all at this point in the show while we see if we get a little bit more commentary, and then we'll get into some other topics that I have on my mind I'd like to discuss. Reminders for schedules here. If you're brand new to us, we'd love to have you here as often as we can, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook. If you like these live streams, we do these on a very scheduled basis on Wednesdays and Sundays. If you're here right now on Sunday, Sundays at 9, Wednesdays at 9. Auburn Family Night is Wednesday nights at 9. The Auburn Experience is our main podcast, which you're watching right now. a little bit different tonight because our co-host is out sick and we're just doing Q&A, but that's at 9 as well on Sunday evenings. Now, obviously with New Year's Eve, no Auburn Family Night this week. We also, we plan to be back next Sunday with what will be the regularly scheduled program, barring any other unforeseen events such as transpired today. Other things for you to keep in mind, it is basketball season. We will be having post-game shows for almost every game. I do believe I will be missing the first SEC game, but the next one, the last of non-conference versus Queens, is going to be a late one tomorrow. We do plan to do a post-game stream for that. So hopefully you can join us live and talk about it, break down the stats and the stories, but also we'll be you can come on the back end and watch the replays and stuff, but watching it live and participating in the discussions about it is definitely, in my opinion, the best way to take part in those shows. So that gives you a perspective about this week. I'm a little bit limited, but certainly there are things to look forward to, a post-game show. And then next Sunday, a week from now, we'll be back together. But once these holidays are over, folks, we're going to be excited here. Hopefully within those 2 weeks, we might have not giant changes here in studio, but just a few different things that we're going to be trying out, doing differently. So it's a good time to jump on board here at the Auburn Experience if you've never done so. All right, other topics, other questions, other comments, drop those in now. We want to hear from you and get into anything that you want to discuss in the Auburn sports, Auburn family, Auburn culture space. Doesn't have to be football related, doesn't have to be sports related, doesn't have to be current events, but it must be all things orange and blue. Talked a lot of football to start off the show tonight. We can certainly come back around to that and do that again as per your choice in your comments and questions. But nobody's really talked about basketball, and I understand why that is. We're in a little bit of a lull where you've got obviously the schedule, the way it's laid out with the holidays too. There's been this big gap. Someone posted a stat today, and I don't know who to attribute it to. I believe it's one of the beat writers. Talked a little bit about the time frame of which how often Auburn's been at home and when the last time they were at home. And I think they've only played twice in 28 days at home, where they started off playing a lot at home. So that can wear on you a little bit, especially when you've been playing teams the caliber of your Purdue's, your Arizonas, your Michigans, who all walloped you. But then you've also got Houston, who you almost beat. You beat St. John's, you beat Oregon. And then there's some other quality opponents in there as well in the mid-majors. So it's been a little bit of a tough road in the non-conference, which hasn't produced the results quite yet that a lot of people were hoping for. It is a first year for head coach Stephen Pearl. He has taken over a program that he helped build, and there's not been a lot of a change outside of head coaches. But the roster obviously is completely different, but that was happening with Bruce. So a lot of season left. We're excited about SEC play. We can talk about that a little bit and get into that if you'd like to do that. Jonathan asks, how can I get the Auburn Creed? Well, you got to read it and understand and know it. If you mean get as in want to know where like a printout of it is, I'm sure you can find printouts anywhere. Just type in Auburn Creed. That usually takes you to an Auburn University website where you can read it, recite it, learn it, love it, and know it. And we are very big proponents of here. Just on a quick note of that, you'll get these people that call others that try to support, love the creed monsters, and it's kind of like the same vein as saying Bible thumpers. And I laugh when I hear that. It says like, so you're making fun of someone for having standards and living by them. I know the connotations behind there don't necessarily match up, but there's some irony and making fun of people for that. I'm a creed monster. I think the creed putting first things first as a Christian, what Jesus teaches is what I follow first and foremost. But I think outside of that, especially if you're not someone who is a Christian or religious, the creed offers a lot of very strong applicable lessons that will do you very good. And so if you can learn it, love it, know it, be a creed monster about it, and apply that not just to your daily life, but how you operate as an Auburn fan, you'll be sitting pretty good. So go check it out. Obviously, there's a lot that connects with people in there. It's usually one of the things that people talk about a lot. But Auburn Creed, just type it in a Google search. It'll go to the Auburn University page. And George Petrie First Auburn head football coach is the one that came up with that. Auburn legend. If you don't know him, you should. You absolutely should. Jonathan is also asking, and who is Auburn's first football game at home? I'm assuming this is a question for the 2026 schedule. Jonathan, I've been pushing my podcast on you all show. You got to check it out. You're here after all. So you're on Facebook, but make sure you're downloading it, stuff like that. That same episode, I believe we did the full schedule reveal discussion of the 2026 schedule when they broke that or revealed that to us 2 weeks ago. So that should be out as well as a segment on YouTube, but download the podcast and you can get all of that stuff and, listen to that. Your first home game, if I haven't committed it all to memory right now, but I'm trying to without having to go look at it on a web search. It was going to be Baylor. Baylor was moved to Atlanta as a neutral site game for reasons, good reasons, but for reasons but it still pains us all to not have another Auburn home football game that was taken away from us. It would be South Alabama. No, that wouldn't. Let me just look it up for you because I'm struggling here on this later evening to bring it all up to my mind right now. All right, your 2026 schedule. The home stand starts with, on the aforementioned Auburn website, Southern Miss. I knew South Alabama was this year. Southern Miss kickoff on the Plains, which begs the question, we talked about that, when will homecoming be? Because normally if Baylor had been the opening game, they would have put homecoming at game 2 for Southern Miss, and I would have been very annoyed by that. So this at least forces them not to do homecoming before September 19th, but Florida's sitting right there. I think Vanderbilt is the most likely option for the 26th, which is better than it has been previously. But to me, it's my opinion that homecoming should never be in the month of September. It should be at minimum October. There's going to be a little bit of a struggle to find an appropriate date and opponent for that. But I have made the case that I believe we should do it for Arkansas on November 7th. It will be lovely. Please listen, Auburn. They're not going to. And I'll continue to harp about that. Let's see. I have heard of George Petrie. Is it actually 2 scriptures in the Auburn Creed? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Jonathan. George Petrie is the author of the Auburn Creed, and I would imagine that there are very much influences of the scriptures, the Christian scriptures in there. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with God. Those would be probably some of those, the ones that you want to look at for that. It's how we sign off our shows here. Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with God. Definitely check that out and know it, love it. If you're asking, where can I get it, in a printout? I mean, you can print it out on your own, but there are, there are portraits I've seen of it written out in beautiful ink or something like that you can have for your wall and things like that. I'm shocked that I, frankly, as I look around the office here, have not had one of those myself, and maybe that needs to be added to my repertoire. What's going to be happening with the background back here is that we're removing some of the things that cast shadows or catch light, such as you can see over what would be the left side of the screen, but my right shoulder. Certain photos and stuff, as much as I love them, we're going to be trying to make things a little bit. We like the way we have everything set up here, but we're going to be trying to do some new and fresh things is when we have the opportunity to here at the E2C Network Central. Okay, so keep your comments and questions coming. If there's anything else that we haven't talked about, just jumping back on the basketball stuff. I hope you guys are excited for the SEC schedule. It's going to be fun. Some of the best basketball is being played in the SEC right now, currently, in the modern era, but even this season, I believe it'll be the case as well. So as much as the results of that challenging non-conference schedule weren't what everybody wanted, I think what doesn't need to be lost sight of is the fact that Auburn was playing the top of the top in their schedule, in their non-conference, and they only lost to the top of the top, literally 1 and 2. I forget what the AP poll is right now, but for a while here, it's been Arizona and Michigan who beat them the worst out of anybody, 1 and 2, and then Purdue right behind them, Houston, they nearly beat. So the way I have phrased it, if you're outside looking at this basketball team as it currently sits here in late December, this team is able to compete with the best, but they can't do so consistently as of yet. That is the way that I'm kind of viewing this team and the way I'm hoping others view this team. They can compete with the best, aka Houston having the last second shot to win the game, and it wasn't by fluke or anything like that. They just weren't able to do that. But then just being walloped by the absolute best of the best shows they can't do so consistently yet. 1 out of the 4 opportunities you were competitive against the best of the best. So Auburn's a good basketball team. Take a little bit of a while to come together, but certainly, the results have left a little people jaded at times. I hope you guys are excited for the SEC play, though. The thing that I love about SEC play is it's regular. Midweek game, Saturday game. You have like one weekend where you're not playing on the Saturday, or maybe it's a midweek game more likely. But it's either Tuesday or Wednesday, and then Saturdays. Tuesday or Wednesday, Saturday. Tuesday or Wednesday, Saturday. Tuesday or Wednesday, Saturday. So I don't know why I brought that one up. Sorry about that on the screen there. But that's what I'm excited about. And I love talking basketball, so I hope you all are going to be able to join us for the post-game reaction shows where we talk about the stats and the stories of Auburn versus whatever team it's going to be. So Queens next. Georgia's the first SEC game, and then it continues on from there. And Georgia looks like they have resurged back in basketball too, so don't sleep on that one. And we'll see how that shakes out. So a little bit more basketball talk for you there. Jonathan also asking, do you by chance know what time will be the first football game? We do not know times as of yet. They have not released any of those. That comes usually in the summer. My guess is that for this Baylor game, you will know probably in the spring. Just no reason to think it. Just spitballing here. It feels right for a big matchup like that in Atlanta. They want to get the ticket sales out there early, get people excited for it. You'll probably have the ticket sales go on full blast if they haven't sold out already for the home season tickets and things like that during that time. Usually what happens is you'll get your first couple of games times right off the bat, at least 3 of them. So probably all 3 of that, the Baylor, Southern Miss, and Florida game will be known right away. I really, really hope we can get a night game in Florida. I don't know that it's going to happen, though, because I hope what they're going to do is give us a night game for Southern Miss, the first home game, so we're not all dying out there on September 12th in that heat. I think they're going to put Auburn and Florida in that midday slot, given where the 2 programs are at. Not a lot of questions will be about both programs, first-year head coaches. Vanderbilt, the one thing that may be a benefit is that Vanderbilt game without Diego Pavia and Auburn being who they are, right now currently that's probably going to be either an early kickoff or a midday game. So that might help you. So if you want me just to speculate with no knowledge whatsoever, I think that Baylor game will be probably 3:30. The Southern Miss game will be a night game. Florida will be a midday game, and then the mid-afternoon, I should say. And Vanderbilt will be like an 11-12 kickoff, the true early kickoff, which isn't great. Don't love it. Don't like it. It is what it is. But we do not know those at this current time. At least it's not on the official website and things like that. Maybe a couple more questions from anyone out there especially those of you that have been just silently lurking back there in the background. Don't be shy. Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. Dive into it right now. A couple reminders for you. Yes, obviously we know football takes the cake here. We know even basketball does as well. Just around the corner is going to be a lot of that spring stuff. We have broken down baseball and softball schedules on the last episode, 155. So you should check that out as I knock the camera around there. I told you I'm out of sorts this this show. But that'll be there. You've also got gymnastics going on right now. And this is a program that I know a lot of you are going to roll your eyes at me when I mention it. But word on the street is, based off how they're being viewed in some rankings, things like that, given where this program was at before their coaching change last year, and given the pedigree of the coach that was brought in and Coach Zabo, Auburn women's tennis may be something that you all need to pay attention to this season, especially as we get to April, I guess even May, whenever postseason play starts for that. So a lot of people have talked about them being one of the best teams. And so this could be one of those things that catches fire for a lot of people in late spring or just the middle of spring, kind of like men's golf did. Not saying national title, but I am saying people are talking. The talk is out there. So check them out if you haven't. All that spring sport will get going. We're going to be in that weird time of the year pretty soon where not only is basketball in full swing, but baseball and softball, like we're a month away from that happening, are going to start rolling into. And it's going to be crowded in your attention spans and mine as a content creator. The joke is that if you know what an Auburn SID is, those are the media people that are in charge of, managing the media relations for certain programs, and they do some great work. That this is their nightmare time period because a lot of them, or at least some of them, overlap in sports, and so you've got all the winter sports: men's basketball, women's basketball, gymnastics. Technically, in some ways, equestrian, even though they take a break during part of the winter, swimming and diving collide all at the same time with baseball, softball, men's and women's golf, men's and women's tennis, men's and women's track and field. And I'm forgetting something else, I'm sure, off the top of my head. And then you've got spring volleyball and soccer that usually happen on top of that as well. So pretty much everything outside of cross country in some ways has a presence at a certain part of the late winter-ish, early spring, real early spring. So it's a fun time for everybody, content creators, SIDs alike. Jonathan says, one question that I had for you is, do you know how I can get a shirt for Rod Bramblett? And how is his children doing? Can't come to Auburn without hearing him. Yeah, it's a good point to bring up, Jonathan. I think a lot of us, I'm not that old, but I am older these days, but grew up with Rod Bramblett being our voice. I still remember the day that Jim Fife passed away unexpectedly, and it's sad to say that his successor had the exact same thing happen, passed away unexpectedly and very tragically. But we'll always have those beautiful calls that he made with Andy Burcham, our current voice, as his color commentator as well. And I think Andy does an outstanding job, and I've gotten to know him a little bit through the content creation stuff, and I can attest to what a wonderful human being he is from just personal interactions with him. But going back to Rod, I don't know that there's a specific place to look for Rod Bramblett t-shirts. I would imagine there are a lot of people that have created designs to reference, to honor him out there. Etsy is a great place to look for things like that, where people are kind of skirting the lines on licensing and things like that, but some of them do have the ability to do that. I would imagine there have been some t-shirt in the past, right after the passing of Rod Bramblett, where we honored him in some way, that we being the Auburn entity with some type of merchandise or things like that. Now, in relation to his children, and I think I've got all my facts straight on this. So he had a son and a daughter, and I believe the daughter was about to go to Auburn, and I'm guessing it's either still there or actually that wouldn't line up that way because it's been a minute. Either what the plan was for them to go to Auburn. The son was a little bit younger and was officially, I believe, adopted, which was the plan by Andy Burcham and his wife to help him get through those formative years and in that support system, and then do what he wanted to do for college and things like that. So I don't know them personally. I don't know what did or didn't transpire, things like that. It's one of the reasons why I love Andy Burcham, how he stepped up for his friend and his family in that wake where those two kids lost, but not only their father, but their mother, all in the same incident. So it's kind of similar back to your question that you had earlier about the health of Hugh Freeze. I can only go off of what I have seen out there publicly, and I have no reason to think anything isn't moving in a positive way for them as well. So if you believe in the power of prayer, certainly as we asked you to pray for Hugh Freeze and his health earlier in the broadcast, I ask you always to think of um, Rod Bramlett's young family and those that he was forced to leave behind, not by his own choice, and the heinous acts of someone who still to this day doesn't seem to have learned their lesson very much. You've been following those stories, which is not what we really want to get into here, but you don't have to search too far to figure out all these things on that. Another great question, Jonathan. And we appreciate your heart for asking about how people are doing in the Auburn family. That's what we're all about here. Yeah, we're about the sports. Yeah, we're about the football, but the Auburn experience is so much more than that. I often get these these very cynical people. What is there to talk about, especially when Auburn football is and what is that? I was like, well, that kind of shows you right there, whether that's an Auburn fan or not, how limited and how probably unhealthy your view of either what an Auburn fan is and being an Auburn fan. So much deeper, so much wider. And that's why we do what we do here at the Auburn Experience to bring that to you this evening. So coming up on the next show, if we have any last minute questions and comments, please drop those in and we'll round out the show with that. Some good ones and thought-provoking ones tonight. As a reminder, this was a very special episode of the Auburn Experience. Live Q&A, just taking some of your topics and questions this evening. This will not be in our regularly scheduled numbering system. It's think of it of a episode 155.1 or 0.2, I guess, what do you say, or a half, something like that. Where we just get together and talk about what's on your mind. Austin was out sick, very sick. He's fine as far as I know, and he is planning on being back with us next week to dive into the fullness of the Auburn experience. And we figured as well, it's probably great, unfortunate timing for Austin getting sick, but for great timing here with the holidays and everybody being a little bit scattered everywhere, our general audience, to take a break from the normal and just do a little bit of a special episode. So if you're finding us for the first time, Sunday evenings is the main thing that you want to know about to come back to this show. 9 Eastern, 8 Central, the Auburn Experience records with Austin, myself, sports, culture, family. We have three main segments, Auburn Potpourri. We talk about Auburn news topics that we won't spend a larger amount of time on, but just more quickly, rapid fire, I guess you'd call that. And then two main topics, especially this time of year, one of those main topics will tend to be more focused on basketball. And this next one probably will be that with the Queens game and then Georgia happening next weekend. SEC play starts next weekend, so be looking forward to that as well. So those are your reminders. Don't forget our post-game shows for basketball. We're really excited about the content that we have here geared up for you. Post-holidays, post-football. Just because football is over doesn't mean the Auburn Experience doesn't keep rolling. We're going to call it a show right there. And thank you all for those of you that joined us, those of you that were live, those of you that caught the replay. We appreciate you doing that. Subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. If you want to reach out to us, E2C Network at gmail.com is a great way to do that. Direct messages are open most places on social media. If you'd like to contact us privately for suggestions, comments, derogatory rebuttals, certainly you can comment or add us wherever else. If you'd like to do that, that's probably the best way to get in touch with me as well. And that'll do it. Thank you so much for being part of our little family when in the Auburn family. As we go, I want to remind you of these things. The Auburn Creed asks you to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. We ask you to do the same. War Eagle.